Welcoming you all in here. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube for the latest edition of Fourth and Four, the Unhinged Radio exclusive show that gets you kicked off and excited for your NFL action during the NFL season. Zach Kyleman here as the host, alongside for this week both the High-Low Sports Podcast crew members of Kelsey Coyne and DJ Stewart. Jim Mernier is unable to join us this week due to some unfortunate circumstances, but he will be back for our next show. We are wishing him the best for his health, of course. Guys, how are we doing today? Week 2 is upon us. Got another show to get under our feet as we will adjust to this live format here. And good to see you, by the way, DJ, back as well. So, get a little banter between you guys.
Definitely to be back and get things started and make sure I have my one-way ticket away from Kelsey's Island.
Right now. Hey, Kelsey's Island right now, boys and girls. Right now, 2-1. 2-1. I am better than I am bad.
They went to the island on Lost plenty of times before they got lost.
Hey, I was impressed. I was impressed with the island picks this week. Got to give you some credit.
All I got to say is if I was playing baseball right now, I'd be doubling the best ever batting average in the Hall of Fame. Doubling it. So come at me. It's okay. It's all right. I respect it.
Horseshoes and hand grenades, my friend. Horseshoes and hand grenades.
You can't be perfect every night right now.
Well, week one at least is early, so there's plenty of time for the rest of us to catch up. I know DJ definitely has a bit of catching up to do. But that's okay. He's got time. He's got time on his side.
Reigning champion, it's fine.
Yeah, see, he's good. He's good. Well, folks, here's the deal. So last week we did 2 hours. We're going to do 1 hour. We had a little chat on the side. So we're going to structure this as close to an hour as possible to give you guys some time to, recuperate and kind of take in the tidbits we give you. So let's kick things off, ladies and gentlemen, with our topic of the week. First quarter is now in action. We now have 15 minutes to discuss. Really a general topic, but one that honestly so many people were discussing last week is week 1 kind of surprise. Some things, really stood out that I just, many of us here, at least in this show, kind of raised our eyebrows a little bit. Now credit, some of those were because of picks that were going, okay, island picks, or like we just got swept out of our own like complete tallies, but still some surprises as expected week 1, but some that I didn't even see coming, in my opinion. Guys, what really stood out to you? I have one myself. I'm going to go on my talk with the Texans, but I'm going to hold off on that for a second, just because, I think there's other stuff we can talk about too, that maybe is even more of an impact or more serious implications down the rest of the regular season.
Yeah. DJ, I'll let you go first.
All right. I think what I'm going to start with is I'm going to go to the Cincinnati Bengals and the Minnesota Vikings. That's one that surprised me because in part we expected neither team to be all that great necessarily. But the fact that Cincinnati went in there, got a win, something they haven't seen a whole lot of in a long time. Joe Burrow looked healthy as well. The reports in the offseason of him not feeling good with his knee, not being stable. Jamar Chase, the guy who they were saying can't catch a football, he forgot how to catch an NFL football, 100 yards and a touchdown. They tied it up. They had all the momentum. Then they gave up a game-tying field goal, went into overtime, 4th and inches, threw a pass 20 yards down the field. And just the way they showed some resolve, something we haven't seen from Cincinnati, finding a way to win, and Joe Burrow looking like Joe Burrow after that injury. The Bengals really surprised me because I thought it was going to be a really rough season for them. But what we saw in week 1, it might not be so bad. They might be competitive in that incredibly difficult division as well, too. And right now, they're tied for the division lead after the 2 favorites, the Ravens and the Browns, lost week 1. So a little bit of momentum to start the season for Cincinnati. And maybe they're better than we thought they were. Maybe they're not who we thought they were, to quote as well, too.
I think you mean Dennis Green. That's
Dennis Green, yes. I get Lovie Smith's Bears. That's it. The wheels were churning. It just took a moment there.
Oh, yeah. That's all right. It's all right. It's engraved in my mind. That's it's like a young Zach moment that never leaves me or my mind space, if you will.
Yeah,
stays forever.
So that was mine, and just the whole NFC North in general. Nobody won in the NFC North. The winner is those Vikings are leading the division because they lost by the least. Their negative point differential puts them at the top of the division. So those are the 2 things week 1 that I'm like, oh, well, okay, then that sticks out. But good on Cincinnati if this is a sign of things to come, because maybe the rebuild's a little bit kickstarted with a healthy Burrow and a 2-handed Jamar Chase.
Hey, I was surprised at the hands. I know that preseason doesn't determine everything, but some stuff you wonder if you worry it transfers over to the regular season. And Jamar Chase's catching abilities, which were highly touted coming out of college, and then we see maybe some preseason jitters, if you will, finally just got everything in order and looks exactly like what we expected. That connection's there. The chemistry is still there, it looks like, from their college days. It looks good. And it for me as a Bears fan this week, having to at least face the Bengals. Yes, they don't look as much. They maybe snuck a win, I felt, against Minnesota, just because Minnesota does their usual once every year thing where they get behind, try to rally, and then they just go, oh, geez, we messed it up at the end type of spiel. It's once a year under Mike Zimmer, it seems. You have one of those games. But I felt like looking at Chicago, how their secondary was so poor against Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and Van Jefferson. I look at this whole thing with like Tyler Boyd, and then you got T. Higgins. Oh, yeah, and then Jamar Chase also had 104 yards last week on one off a 50-yard bomb. And I get jitters from that. Mm-hmm. And even though they didn't invest in Penei Sewell to get in that first-round pick, their second-round pick is still performing very well. And the offensive line, for the most part, held up against Minnesota. And Chicago's pass rush, besides Khalil Mack, still isn't really showing up right now. Maybe Akeem Hicks got the one sack against the Rams. I'm like, okay, but
I'll pile on top of that too. The Bengals did a lot of empty sets too. They didn't give Joe Burrow help. They weren't chipping. It wasn't like 2-3 man routes. They sent 5 out pretty much every time. They're like, all right, Joe, we're risking it. Danielle Hunter's over there, so avoid that genetically monstrous man there. And very few people can block in the first place. And they did a good job holding up. I mean, he had to move a little bit. He wasn't perfect, but as you mentioned too, the offensive line was wet tissue paper last year. Joe Burrow's running for his life. This time he wasn't so bad. He was able to get the ball out quickly, move a little, find his open guys. The play calling was better. So I think the Bengals took a big step forward in that as well. And you mentioned the Bears coming too. That's going to be, it looks like it could be a tough one for your Bears with the amount of weapons they have too. But at the same time, we're going to see how well the offensive line is. And we'll see if we see more Justin Fields, perhaps. Maybe Justin Fields could be the ultimate equalizer if he, gets to see more than 5.5 snaps.
Hey, who knows? That's a good question. And it'll come up. And I'll probably discuss it, of course, as the week goes on. But we got the rest of the NFL we got to touch on here. I can't keep holding the Bears in here. The shirt should represent enough. Kelsey, I have another one that I'm assuming one of these is going to come up, but I'm curious what your surprise of week 1 turns out to be here.
For me, it's like the opposite of what DJ was just bringing up with the entire NFC North being winless. The NFC West, with absolute beatdowns of everybody. Like, I'm sorry, the Colts was probably the closest game, and that was
not close. It was not close either.
The score was not representative of how distanced that game really was. I mean, it was a 12-point game. That was the closest of any one of those games for the West teams, and that was from the Seahawks. I mean, you're looking at this and you're like, the Niners absolutely breaking down the barn doors in Detroit. Granted, everything that happened there at the end of the game.
They broke down the barn doors, and the barn doors almost broke back at the end there. They got real close real quick in those final 2.5 or so minutes.
Look, at the end of the game with holding, that was a fantastic performance from the Niners. Getting Trey Lance in there as well, getting that work in. That I kind of like the way they're doing that quarterback duo. It's very interesting to see. Arizona, what they did to Tennessee, I think we were all kind of like, oh, what? Like, except for me. I mean, I did pick Arizona. But, No, not like that. That was the insane part. That was emphatic. That was like, oh wow, okay. Chandler Jones, what? 5 sacks in a game? Like time out, Chandler. Time out. Nobody expects that for him continuing. If he does, then by week 5, what the record will be broken, as DJ said in our latest episode of the podcast.
Not bad for a guy who is looking for a trade in the offseason too. Right. I mean, that flipped around real quick.
That's the first thing I thought when someone told me that he had 5 sacks. Because, you try and watch, unless you have the money to pay for like NFL Sunday Ticket, you watch as many games as you can. So like when you don't see that one aired because some fans aren't at the bar and they just don't play it, I'm like, 5 sacks already? Man, that's some Madden numbers there, man.
Exactly.
X Factor activated.
And here's the craziest part of us all. The one team that gets a brand new quarterback that some people just took as a wash trade, some of us smarter individuals knew what to expect from Matt Stafford, but some of us that had never, like, there's people that still think that was just a wash of a trade, which I say to you, did you see what that man just did? Like, give him receivers, give him an offensive line, and give him a mediocre running game that can at least run 5 yards, and look what happens. And that defense didn't even get going yet. Like, We have not seen the Rams defense that we know yet. Like, don't get me wrong, they played very well, but we still haven't gotten going yet with that team, and that's terrifying to think. There was a whole quarter and a half they were stagnant, and they still won by double digits.
Yeah.
So
best quarterback rating in week 1. That's all you need to know about Matthew Stafford against the Bears, a team he knows very well that knows him very well too.
And not just that, the best quarterback rating of his career as well in his first game there. So you look at this and you're just like, wow, okay, this is oh boy. This NFC West is terrifying to me. I look at this NFC West and I'm like, I already knew it was going to be a crapshoot. I knew they were going to beat each other up, but this solidified it for me. Like 100% solidified that these guys are going to hate each other because they're going to split every single game, and we're going to see the first time. I still firmly believe we're going to see with this new 17 game schedule, all those teams with a winning record at 9-8, and then one at 10-7. Like, that's going to be how this division shakes out.
Shoot, I'll do you one better. Watch them all win 10 games somehow for the first time ever. We've seen plenty of divisions where a playoff team is like 7 wins. Watch this be a 10 wins for all 4 teams, and then 1 or 2 of them misses out because of it too. Or all 4 teams in the division possibly make it with that extra wild card. I think that's going to be the wild division of the year.
Yeah, it's fun. It's going to be fun to watch. I firmly believe, especially after week 1, that now this is again week 1 armchair quarterback overreaction moment. But I still firmly believe that this is going to be the most fun division to watch.
It's going to be a blast. I love the NFC West last year, and it's getting even better. And to add on to that, one of the pieces that missed last year that everyone kind of was going, well, we'll see what it's like in 2021, was the San Francisco 49ers because of the health issues that they had on that roster. Now, credit, it's not as extreme as last year already, but you still have some worrying things. Obviously, Raheem Mostert going out is unfortunate. They do have depth at that spot. I mean, Trey Sermon, for crying out loud, was a healthy scratch. So that just shows you where they're at currently with that roster. But that's a healthy spot that they have. Garoppolo looks solid. You got Trey Lance in the wing, and they're not going to be an easy out. It's going to be a really awesome division to watch football for, and every one of these divisional matchups is going to be feeling like it's a playoff game. I mean, you can't ask for better football coming out of that division. I mean, that is the best one in football right now to me. Yeah. It's got equalized matchups to where you can say any given Sunday for any one of these 4 teams if they meet each other, and you have to kind of flip a coin.
I'm truly impressed at how Shanahan's able to use both quarterbacks in a proper way too. Not the Matt Nagy, we'll just flip him out there and do some goofy stuff with him. He uses Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo well. Like, they actually both play out there. It doesn't seem like you're upsetting the rhythm or anything like that. It was similar to what Phil Burrs and Jacoby did last year under Frank Reich. Maybe Nagy, I mean, they say you coaches study each other. Maybe you should take a peek over there in the Bay and see what he could do there. Get Justin Fields on the field just a little bit more besides just read options, basically, or read option quickly, fired into a quadruple covered window.
This is a random slant, but I saw a really creative play this week in there's actually a Japanese American football league called the X League in Japan. They did a play. It is a sweep option, but the quarterback faking the sweep option threw for a touchdown out of the sweep option. And I just kind of went, that is a Justin Fields or Trey Lance play if I ever saw it. I'm waiting for some American OC to see this and implement it as soon as possible as a trick play.
That has David Montgomery and Allen Robinson is all over it as well too. So that seems like right up the Chicago alleyway, as you mentioned, to get Fields in the red zone, let him run that play. That's right on the money. You should ask for it to be OC for the Bears at this point. I mean, why not?
Who are we kidding? It's going to be Najee Harris and the Steelers that pull this one off. Like, Ben Roethlisberger is going to be like, you know what? I got you guys.
I still got it. I still got some wheels.
My first question would be, why is Ben running a read option right?
Like, if there's any guy that should not do it, but that swears he's an athlete, it's Ben Roethlisberger. I don't know a different quarterback that assumes otherwise. I mean, we all know where he's at in his career, but he doesn't know that. The man thinks he's like 6'2", 200 pounds, and he could run like a mile in 10 seconds. Like, he thinks that of himself.
Wrapping up the first quarter here, I'll mention real quick the Houston Texans. Surprised that they got that win, but we had one island pick there with Hector, who will have his halftime show later, that did get that. So congrats to him. Tyrod Taylor looking pretty good. The ragtag group looked nice. My final piece, though, for this comes with the form of bigger surprise or worry, or at least more implications for how you view a team down the road. Green Bay's blowout against New Orleans, or Buffalo tripping up against the Pittsburgh Steelers? Which one seems a little more crucial and more impactful down the line?
Man, you just dropped a bomb on us, huh? That's a tough one. Like,
I think I don't think either one's that big of a deal. Aaron Rodgers will tell us to relax and everything will be fine. They'll win 10, 11 games, be fine. Buffalo, it's a really good defense. They'll be really fine. I'm not too concerned in that case.
That's a tough one. Like, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. I think the same thing, kind of in a way. I'm a little more worrisome of the Buffalo one though, just because that is you can't collapse like that against Pittsburgh. I feel like at the end of the day, like that's about my limit. Like that, you really shouldn't collapse like that.
Fair. That's fair. I mean, they let him rattle off unanswered, I believe 16 points. I mean, then lost by 7. Didn't really feel like it was close in the second half after a certain point. And, you got to worry a bit. I mean, Josh Allen, now give Pittsburgh all the credit. That defense still is present. And all the stuff we heard about in the offseason about worrying about regression was total BS and thrown out the window after week 1. They definitely showed up to play and made Josh Allen's life a living hell in the pocket. So, everything that needed to happen for them did. But for Buffalo, it's not like it's an easy road this year, and they have targets on their backs now. It's not this ain't your post Doug Flutie benching, Buffalo Bills with the curse. This is we're expecting a possible Lombardi trophy at the end of the year, Buffalo Bills. So a little more impact you got to be fearing, I would say.
No, absolutely. And at least everybody was able to suit up. There's no vaccination issue. So what they're winning right now so far.
Right. I mean, and then looking at Green Bay, like, I didn't see New Orleans coming out of the way they did, but hey, Sean Payton getting his guys ready to go. And obviously Jameis Winston has been taking some notes and kind of did a good game management role, I would say. And then Green Bay, I mean, they already know it's a 1-year rental at this point for Rodgers. So, they're hoping you take what you can get, all the jokes aside of him just, trying to do the longest yard impression that he can.
Yeah.
The meme said it perfectly. It's like, Aaron, we're losing. Nah, y'all losing. That pretty much summarizes it perfectly for them at this point.
Yes.
That was beautiful. NFL meme pages like NFL memes are some of the best things on the internet. Hands down. You can't ask for better. Yes, River. That's the end of our first quarter, ladies and gentlemen. We now enter the second quarter, coming closer to that glorious Hector Flores halftime show. We're going to be transitioning a little bit into fantasy football. Last week we didn't really touch fantasy, but we all play in some capacity, in way, shape, or form. High-low for Christ's sake.
Than others.
I say high-low for Christ's sake. We play each other in the Belly Up Sports and Unhinged Radio Fantasy Football League on Sleeper. So definitely going to be looking at our rosters. I'm coming off a 1-0 score. I actually beat Jim last week, so he can't rag on me now. Mm-hmm. I'm playing Hector this week, so that'll be fun. You guys are matching up.
I'm playing Jim this week.
Oh, there you go. Okay,
yeah, so coming off of a loss, playing Jim this week.
Next week's gonna be fun then.
Tony took us out. Tony took us out last week, but you know what? That was to be expected, especially when we had Henry Ruggs on the team who decided he wanted to go AWOL in that Raiders game.
Yeah, no figure. I'm hurting right now because of Kenny Golladay and Saquon Barkley. That Giants offense, why I invested 2 starting spots in the Giants offense, I will never understand. But I just usually love Golladay. So that's kind of why.
The shame gift.
This is what you get for picking players that have Vanilla Vic at quarterback. You got to know better than that.
I know. Is that the nickname you're giving him now?
It wasn't me. That one's been doubted to him by the masses. I'm just following suit. Like, that is not my thinking. That's the first I've heard that. Him.
That's gonna stick. That's
probably going to stick.
It's already stuck. He's already stuck with it, whether he likes it or not. Wow. He just needs to start throwing left-handed.
Vanilla Vic. That's the first time okay. We're just going to keep that train rolling.
I should have taken credit for that one. Actually, I should have just said that was all me, but
start the trademarks, man.
It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. It's just probably for the best. Who knows where that one's going to go. We can get that on a t-shirt though. Once we get it on a t-shirt, we can claim all victory for it.
Put it on the Belly Up store. We'll do.
There you go.
Do it that way. So let's see here, guys. We're going to kind of do like some pieces you might want as a, maybe kind of a well, maybe not transactions, is a little late, but I guess in terms of if it's on your roster and you feel like this might be a matchup that you're kind of iffy about, or perhaps you're like, this is a must start. This is where we'll fill this in. I'll let Kelsey go first this time here. So any pieces you're saying like, okay, this is after week 1, I need to start looking at these guys, or a really good like flyer pick. You're like, if I'm doing anything this week, I have to play this person, or maybe even defensive unit here this week.
Yeah, look, I'm the one I'm rolling with this week. Obviously, I talked about it a little bit last week. Obviously, Marquez Callaway, Saints receiver, and Juwan Johnson. Obviously, Saints. You don't know what you're expecting from Jameis Winston, but long time for watching Jameis Winston, he loves his tight ends more than anything. He does not care about receivers half the time. He just wants to throw to the tight ends, and he can throw it to them all day long. So for me, I'm benching Marquez Callaway and riding Juwan Johnson in my flex, and that's a matchup. I think if you have those two and you're looking for somebody for the Saints to ride with, I think Juwan Johnson might be the guy to go with going forward. And if it doesn't, well, I mean, okay, fair enough. I'm sorry. But you know what? For me, that's who I'm riding with. I'm riding Juwan Johnson. So don't worry. There's nothing you can do that I won't do to myself. I'm going to back it up by putting him in my roster myself. So there is proof to the pudding in this one. I will back this one up.
I was definitely saying after Juwan Johnson's red zone targets last week, I think people have to be salivating to try and get him because I think Trotman was the one most people keyed in on drafts, and all of a sudden you see Johnson getting, I think it was he had multiple touchdowns last week alone, and big red zone target, of course, really good hands it looked like in the red zone because there's some nice catches there. Yeah, I mean, you want to find good weapons. I mean, the Saints aren't down and out, and those that picked up Michael Thomas are going to be waiting until he's back and healthy. So, if you're able to find any weapons somewhere that, Jameis Winston's keying in on right now, when it's more of kind of a caretaker, hopefully to be more explosive playmaker as a quarterback, why not take a look? Callaway's been hot in preseason too, so that's also another good one anyway.
Yeah, he was a sleeper pick for receiver, but you know what? I think Juwan Johnson's just going to keep putting up more points, to be honest.
I'm intrigued. I think I didn't get him. I we'll see how that goes, but if I missed out on a chance, I'm really gonna be going my snap my fingers way on that.
Right, I'll let you know how it goes.
Nice, thanks. DJ, who you looking at? Who's on the radar for you?
So mine's one that was on a lot of radars early, but then dropped off, and I think he's going to come back on. I'm looking at Trey Sermon, the running back for the 49ers as well. He's a guy that a lot of people looked at, maybe drafting late in the draft, someone that could get some carries down the stretch. After being inactive week one, I feel like a lot of people just threw him back. I think now you bring him back into the fold. This week they play the Eagles, who fantastic game against the Falcons. That is true, but it is the Falcons we're talking about. So I don't expect that defensive performance to continue. So I look for Trey Sermon to down the stretch get a lot of carries. He's the big physical one-cut runner. I think he's going to fit perfectly. Him and Elijah Mitchell are going to both get a lot of carries in this offense, especially with Trey Lance out there. We're going to see the read option. And so I think we're going to see Trey Sermon start to get a lot of the carries through, especially today is when it's going to start, especially in the red zone. And then, of course, on the same team, Brandon Ayuk, another guy everyone is really high on, poised to break out, gets you 0 points and 0 everything in week one. Everyone got really low on him. I think he's a guy that's going to start bouncing back as well, too. So look for 49ers skill players as well early on to get rolling, especially today, because I think the Eagles are going to come back down to earth just a little bit. I don't think they're going to be that high on cloud nine. You can't really do much better than you did week one. And San Francisco looked pretty good week one themselves as well. So look for 49ers skill players to get back into the mix today.
People with Sermon, like actually myself in one of my leagues, have been salivating to get him some reps. And again, we mentioned earlier, surprise scratch in that game. It just, Kyle Shanahan was talking through the week, and it just sounded like that he was not one of the best running backs to start on the active roster for that game. So, it sounded like he had a better practice. He sounds like he should have some reps, and then maybe, depending on how he plays, he can maybe overpass Elijah Mitchell. Otherwise, right now, Mitchell's definitely that number one. And Brandon Ayuk, the comment, was really shocked at a little impact he had. I know Deebo Samuel is a versatile playmaker everywhere that he is on, whether it's special teams or whether it is on, jet sweeps or any trick plays, or even just it's his general receiver. But Ayuk was hyped up, just last season as being this cornerstone for this franchise. And week one, he looked like he was a ghost, completely gone.
Yeah, they got rid of Kendrick Bourne for him too. So you can't forget about that.
Yeah, that was a big name in their receiving core. I mean, it's not like the 49ers have a superstar name like talent where you're seeing them on like commercials and whatnot, but that doesn't mean everything, of course.
Don't forget George Kittle out there.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
he's the best receiver.
That's right. It's a receiver.
Best receiver, best blocker, best thrower of the ball. Best hair.
Definitely best hair.
Yeah.
Definitely got the best hair. Definitely got the best hair. I'm looking at Miami and Buffalo, by the way. So one thing I was looking at, again, this is on one of my rosters, but also because I've been at least the last 2 years, I've been high on Devontae Parker. He's grown as a receiver. He's gotten much better. Not say superstar level, but he's gotten 1,000-yard receiving seasons and is kind of impressed at times. And Will Fuller was supposed to return this week. However, he is not going to be activated. He is out for a personal matter. So if you ask me, you're playing Buffalo. They're going to try and, I imagine, tighten things down. It's a divisional matchup, so it's going to be tighter anyway. So with that being said, why not go with Devontae Parker this week to maybe supplement what could be pressure on Jalen Waddle? I think that that's somebody you should look out for. That, I sometimes like the secondary receiver options, and Waddle also is a rookie. And if I had to take a guess, I'm going to guess Tre'Davious White lines up on Jalen Waddle. And I'm not saying that that's going to deter everything for you, but it's going to be a bit more of a challenge. Parker's going to get most likely any of the secondary options. That sounded weird to say, but I'm still going to roll with it. And you're going to be able to get a few more targets. He still had an 85-yard line with 4 catches last week, just no touchdown. He actually outperformed the yardage category. It's just Waddle was able to get the goal line. So Parker is still capable at 28. And with Will Fuller not being there, I think that opens your offense up. I say that, Tua is going to be looking for Parker a little bit more. Otherwise, if I'm looking like for myself, just maybe other players that I would be watching out for. I don't mean to tie back into Chicago for the talks. But we talked about just how, this is mostly Cincinnati talk. Like the receiving core looking at Cincinnati receivers, I don't care what you say. I think that you should be bullish on that corp after seeing what, the likes of Marquise Christian and Eddie Jackson and Kendall Vildor did last week. And I think all 3 of them should have solid days, or at least have the capacity to do so. There's possibilities across the board. This is a talented receiving core. And with how Chicago's secondary looks, it looks depleted, guys. I would say that that's a place you should also target, at least to me. After Jamar Chase, most likely, I think T. Higgins is more preferred because it looks like Boyd's taking the 3rd option anymore. But if you have Tyler Boyd, I think it's worth maybe a flex option, especially if you have an extra flex spot or maybe a 3rd receiver position on your fantasy roster.
I'll pile on top of that and say if you're really hurting for a tight end, CJ Uzoma in that matchup might not be a bad one either for the Bengals tight end. We saw him with a couple big plays last week as well too. Joe Burrow, we saw with Thaddeus Moss, he loves himself tight ends when they can move a little, so that might be a sleeper pick for the week.
Also, defensive flyers. If you didn't pick up Green Bay against Detroit, I'm sorry, pal, but you waited too long. I think I'm a big proponent of defensive flyer options and switching them out at random. Like I have Baltimore's, but do you think I'm really going to play and be confident playing against Kansas City? Like seriously, I will gladly bench Baltimore and pick up Green Bay for a week and then throw Baltimore back in when I need to. I'm not going to say I like to have solid points at those spots that should be more automatic. So Green Bay was available in many of the leagues for pretty much cheap. So if you haven't picked up Green Bay yet, go do it now. Like it should be a pretty easy option. I know Jared Goff showed off some impressive skill set, and that receiving core is not down and out, but it's going to be a pissed off Aaron Rodgers after week 1. Like, do you really think they're going to just lay down and not mangle the Lions a little bit? I think not. I would say that is a good flyer for you to take if you're especially looking for special teams and defensive units still.
I like it.
Definitely.
Or just a matchup standpoint. Like just take Green Bay anything at that matchup. Like it just fits the bill.
Just take it on Yair Alexander alone. The rest of it will work. So like Yair will get you a pick and we'll call it even.
Yeah, there you go. That'll help me along. Give me a pick 6. If it happened with San Fran, I can get it again. I'm just saying, it should be a better week for him. It's something to watch out for. Also, one that's not really an advice, but I would say watch out for. Denver's receiving group this week, I say you should keep a close eye on because the big talk is, which one's going to take Jerry Jeudy's targets while he is away. The namesake would say Cortland Sutton, though Tim Patrick had a solid performance against New York. And then you also have KJ Hamler, who also had a reasonably solid performance too. So, this week's going to be kind of an eye test to see where should you go if you had some doubts maybe about one of those choices. And if you need to scramble, say next week, or you can take a risk on one of the 3 and throw it up in the air.
I like KJ Hamler because he's the type of guy you just throw it up in the air and he will go get it too. He will outrun most people on the field. So I think I like that flyer pick as well because it gives them that deep threat that Jerry Jeudy will not be able to provide right now. And Cortland Sutton's a bigger possession type receiver. So I like the KJ Hamler pick as I need somebody for the flex. Let's get him out there. Maybe he breaks one randomly.
I still love Tim Patrick. I mean, look, this combination of size and speed with him, it's very advantageous. And I mean, I don't know. Teddy loves him for some reason. Teddy loves Tim Patrick, so he's not the only quarterback that's rolled through Denver in the last 2 years that's loved Tim Patrick. So I do think Tim Patrick might be the way to go there.
All right. Well, folks, we have reached the halftime show, and if you watched us last week, well, you know Hector's going to give us some picks and maybe a little bit of hilarity on the side. So, without further ado, we're going to step aside and let Hector get his moment in the sun. Without further ado, Hector Flores with his halftime show. Well, folks, I'm going to apologize for a second here. I know that some of you are dealing with audio issues, and that is on me. I have the video, but of course, because of my technical prowess, I messed this up. So this is on me. I'm sorry, folks. We will get that corrected, but we will post the video for you before kickoff on all platforms so that you guys can re-listen to it and be able to get the full experience. So make sure to watch out for our Facebook, Twitter as well, and we will get it out there, folks. But so we saw the picks there. We're actually going to hold off a minute on the picks section to talk about our games of the week there, but I'm not surprised that he chose upset of Cincinnati over Chicago, just to make that a real quick quip. Also, of course, the Seattle and Tennessee game that was going to come up for us anyway, so not surprised with that too. But again, sorry folks, it's on me. I know exactly what happened there. You can throw all the angry emoji faces and Facebook or dislikes at myself. That's all I'm going to say.
Hey, this is the fun of doing this live, right? Can't cover it up.
I'll post his address so you can send hate mail too. So I'll get that on the screen in just a moment.
Oh, if you really want to get him though, just send him Jay Cutler's face.
Damn it!
We could get away with this.
That's like if anybody wants to drop a picture of Jay Cutler in the comments right now, we can actually put it up on screen. So we can just go ahead and get him now if you guys really want to feel vengeance.
Yeah, you can do that too. I
think you crossed the line, Kelsey. I think that was too far. Like, me posting his address is one thing, but you talking about Jay Cutler and putting that face next to him, that's entirely too far. You made this entirely too personal.
I think it's so, to me, for that joke, it'll be worse if you send me Cutler with a podcasting studio, because I want that podcast studio. He gets to make me lose my hopes and dreams, and then he gets all that nice equipment in retirement. No, that is unacceptable.
It's right. You know what'll make you feel better is actually the guy commenting right now, RJ. He is actually a Bears fan too, so he feels your pain with Jay Cutler. I still make fun of him for it constantly too. So you're not the only one that hates the Jay Cutler train. Yeah, and
RJ, he didn't mean to post the angry emoticon on Facebook. It's all good. I'm like you, where the frustrations that always get me. So that's why I said that. But hey, next week I know we have it figured out. And again, that video is going to be up later, so don't worry. We will get it to you, and you'll get to listen to it in all its glory, because it's a good one. It was a good skit.
Yeah, that was that. I do love Hector's videos as always. He provides a quality halftime show.
It's a good one. Guys, before we go to the picks, though, we rearranged the show for this week as we tool and get it for you guys to enjoy the most. Let's talk a little bit of betting, shall we? We did last week, kind of talking maybe a few games to watch out for that, maybe at least the over-unders seem a little skewed, or you're kind of going, are you sure about that? That Vegas doesn't exactly, I don't think they're picking that one correctly. Guys, what's catching your eye and making you either going, oh yeah, I'd do this, or nah, screw that, Vegas doesn't know what it's talking about this week?
DJ, I'll let you go first on this one.
Well, first one I'm going to take a look at. I'm going to look at the New Orleans Saints taking on the Carolina Panthers. New Orleans with a 3.5 point favorite. I like those ones to take Carolina, not only to cover the spread, but I can see Carolina winning this game as well too. New Orleans obviously coming off that high of absolutely trouncing the Packers and Aaron Rodgers and going up 38-3 on them, and their defense looking absolutely sensational, with a game plan tailored to stop the Devonta Adams and Aaron Rodgers-led offense. It was built to stop the two-way go option with Devonta in the slot and then basically match up on the backside. I don't think they're going to quite carry that over this week. I think they're going to come back down north a little bit. Jameis isn't going to throw 5 touchdowns on 15 completions for about an average of 10 yards per attempt. He's not going to throw a touchdown one out of every 3 attempts this week. It's going to come back down north just a little bit. And I like what I saw from Carolina. I know it was the Jets and all things considered, but Sam Darnold gives them a little bit of extra playmaking when pretty much all their games last year, the majority of them they lost were one possession games. And I think Sam Darnold gives them a little bit extra playmaking where he'll win a few more of those games that Teddy couldn't win last year. Granted, he'll probably lose a few of them that Teddy would have won because turnovers and recklessness. But I think this week, look at them to not only cover the 3.5 points, but possibly win this game outright. 3.5 points is quite a bit, especially for an away team as well, too, because normally you get about 3 points for being at home. So 3.5 points, give me the Panthers to cover that and possibly even roll it out as well, too, because DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, these guys are going to get vertical as well, too. They're going to run wild, and Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. Chuba Hubbard is a spell running back. I think this is a very good team in the making. During our preseason predictions, we talked about maybe not quite this year, but against a team like this and the Saints that are maybe riding a little bit too high, I can see the Panthers coming in and stealing a little bit of thunder and covering the spread.
That's a good one. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
so
that is.
For me, though, I'm looking at that Raiders-Steelers matchup. Plus 5.5 for the spread for the Raiders right now. Did anybody else just see what Matt Crosby did last week and we're just ignoring that? Is that what's happening right now?
Mad Max?
Like, he was literally chasing down everything and Lamar. And now he gets to go play against a statue in Big Ben who has no offensive line protecting him. Give me Las Vegas to cover that and potentially even win this game. 5.5 that's a touchdown. I mean, literally, that is a touchdown. Different, like Max Crosby is good enough to keep that within a touchdown. If I see 50% of Max Crosby what he did against Baltimore, Big Ben doesn't stand a chance.
Let me fire back at you on the other side, though. Do you think the Raiders' offensive line and John Gruden's play calling can counteract that Steelers' defense that we saw wreak havoc on Josh Allen and that Bills offense? You know, Derek Carr gets a little bit skittish when you get real close to him, especially in recent years.
Yes. And the only reason why is because there's going to be a defensive touchdown. So their job becomes a lot easier. Like I don't see a way that this offense for Pittsburgh can actually keep Max Crosby away from him. I mean, I just don't see it. This entire defensive position group, especially the defensive line for the Raiders, I don't know where they came from in the last 2 weeks since preseason, but here they are. They're here to stay. Carl Nassib looked fantastic, and hopefully he's actually going to play meaningful time today because he didn't actually get much time with a shoulder issue. Cleveland Farrell is supposedly coming back, I believe. And then you also have, by the way, Mad Max, Defensive Player of the Week last week. Should have been Defensive Player of the Week last week, other than Chandler Jones. That's the only exception to the rule. And, yeah, here, look, give me the plus 5.5 for Las Vegas to cover. Easy.
And I'll have one more question for you really quickly. For my own doppelganger's sake, do you think we actually see Hunter Renfrow get in the game and get utilized this week? Or is it going to be like last week where he gets 4 plays, but he makes the most out of all of them?
Yes, you will continue to cook every corner that decides you want to guard your lookalike.
Just saying, you put him in the slot. Mike Hilton's not there to guard him anymore. If you have that pass rush coming, you want to get the ball out quick. Who better to go to? It's better than throwing it 45 yards to Henry Ruggs, who's covered. I mean, just throwing it out there.
What are you talking about? Henry Ruggs isn't even on the field half the time.
Well, he's there. You just can't tell.
No. My fantasy team says otherwise.
No, I'm just saying he is there. You just cannot tell that he's on the field due to your fantasy team's numbers.
Rumors say he was a high-profile draft pick coming out of Alabama.
Rumors say as soon as he leaves the Raiders, he's going to start cooking and look like Tyreek Hill and Deshaun Jackson. Just needs to go somewhere besides there.
Wow, another Alabama receiver leaving Vegas, the Raiders, and becoming even better. Huh? Where have I heard that storyline before?
Rumors say the spirit of Al Davis possessed Mark to pick a speedster again.
He picked the worst speedster too, because like Henry Ruggs is not just a speedster. Henry Ruggs is all these things and who happens to be fast. And then all Davis sees is fast. Like he ignores everything else and he's fast. So John, you just make him run deep. Like run deep, don't run stance.
Go run streaks and post routes forever.
throw a drag route to him and let him outrun people. He's not a deep threat. He's a fast yards after catch speed guy as well, too. Not a guy you send on 9 routes every time. Just because he can outrun everybody doesn't mean that's his forte. I mean, I know he did it a couple times last year, but know your personnel, know their skill sets a little bit better. Throw him short hitch route. Everyone's going to back off him. They do not want to get burned by him. They're going to stay 10 yards off. Get him the ball at 5 yards and let him run for 50.
Can we get like a hook and ladder where it's like you throw to Renfrow and then he hooks it over to Ruggs going around the outside?
Around the outside. I think that's something they could dip into the playbook for.
I love the reference, by the way. Good job. The way you sneaking in really well today. 2 games I'm looking out for that. For me, it's mostly if I'm taking the over. I'm like, I think this is a little too close to where it's like I'm going to go the over either way on this. But it's actually 2 of our games we'll mention here in a second. The Chiefs Ravens and Seahawks Titans. I think both of these games. You should take the overs on this in terms. I know there's short margins where it's like Chiefs are 2.5, but like, come on, the last few matchups against Lamar Jackson and with going against the Chiefs, if you're taking the under here, no, that's not that's silly of you. I would never take the same. And the way the Titans played last week, and I think the Seahawks have gone nowhere. Again, I'm going no. I'm going to be taking the over all day for both of these. I'm just saying, like, to me, those are like automatic locks if you're going to do like over picks in that case. And then, honestly, looking at like the rest of the schedule here, I think that for me, I would actually take the under on Bills Dolphins possibly. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be more like a 1 or 2 point game. You might sneak by and get the under there, if you will, in that chance.
A potential another 17-16 game where another Bill Belichick disciple allows less than 20 points. Maybe. By the way, I did hit on that call on the under for the Patriots Dolphins last week.
You did. So, that's right.
Just got to throw that out there that, we do know what we're talking about with Bill Belichick disciples. They don't like offense. They are inept at offense.
Soon enough, we'll be bringing in the money. I'll be wearing sunglasses for this and a sport coat, and I'll look more professional and saying that you can trust me because obviously gambling is an automatic system.
And to pile on your over-under, we're going to pile on the Bears one more time. Cincinnati and Chicago, 44.5 points for over-under. I'm taking the over on that one because if for no other reason you were bullish on the Bengals receiving core, they might get 30 by them. The Bengals might just get 30, and that defense isn't exactly stellar to say the least as well. I could see even if they struggle early on, garbage time points, Andy Dalton gets cooking against his former team. Maybe Fields comes in and lights a little bit of a spark, gets hit 24. Like 44.5 is really, really low for both teams considering, Cincinnati scored 24 last week, and I think Chicago scored about 20, something like that too. So, they hit 44.5 last week in lower scoring games. I expect them both to get a little bit more cooking as well too because they both play better defenses than they're going to face this week. So give me the over on that one as well too. I think it's honestly one of the lowest money lines this week, minus Washington and New York Giants. And Patriots and Jets. It's one of the lower ones, which is surprising.
Yeah, no, it is. That one is a very good bet for sure. Like even the spread on that one is a plus 1.5. You could almost take that as well and have some fun with it just on a flyer pick, if you will. Just because who knows? Maybe the Bengals can cover the 1.5. I don't expect it. That one's kind of for me. That's a flyer pick. Like I'm throwing this one out here to complete my parlay type of situation. That's going to pay me way too much money that I'll never win because this will be the leg of the parlay that disappoints me. But at the same time, what if it hits? What if we see Joey be the first round, the number 1 overall draft pick? Maybe. That's the part.
Maybe. Could be right.
And surprisingly enough, San Francisco and Philadelphia, 49.5 points over under. I don't think that one's going to go over as well either. I think they're both going to come down just a little bit. I think Jalen Hurts is going to put up 4 touchdowns again against Nick Bosa and squad. And I don't think Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo are going to be able to cook like they did against the Lions early on. I think that's going to bounce out to it about a 48. I think you could take the under on that one as well too. I don't think it's going to be 25 plus to 25 plus.
Mm-hmm.
And take the Chargers against the Cowboys.
Just outright. Don't worry about the numbers. Just take them.
Just don't worry about
every bet you could make for the Chargers against the Cowboys. Just make it. You'll win.
I wouldn't take the over on that one. That's for sure. Because as good as that Cowboys offense is, Chargers did a good job with ball control in that first game. I know it's led by Justin Herbert and they're not a run team, but they can hold the ball if needed. They could keep the ball from Dak. So I would avoid the over just because I don't think Dallas will get enough chances.
Yeah. No, the Chargers can score 40 by themselves. So look, we know Dak loves to put up empty calories too. So we'll see.
Diet soda numbers.
Garbage time is such an ultimate factor in this segment too. Just like fantasy football. Funny how that works, right? Boy, do I love these
that I suck at the most. Garbage time kills me.
That's one thing I do. I'm like, oh no, it's a blowout. Oh boy, it's a blowout.
Start rubbing your hands together, plotting for a blowout. Start picking players you know will get destroyed.
Yeah.
Oh boy, it's a blowout. Oh wait, I left that guy on the bench again. DJ Shark.
Why'd you pick up Jared Goff this week on your waiver wire? Have you heard of the garbage effect, good sir? No. Well, let me tell you, it can bring some benefits.
Tyrell Williams, where you at? You could cook the third string corners in the fourth quarter. You got this.
Yeah, see, there's avenues you can go with this. There's ways to go. Well, folks, we're in the fourth quarter, the final piece of this week's 4th and 4. Which before we enter this as well, thank you for tuning in so far. This has been it's been a fun adventure already in 2 weeks. We're gonna keep building the show as we go, and we'll be up here every week, going 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time, moving forward. Just again, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and you can catch us on these 3 platforms that you might be watching on: our Facebook, our YouTube, and our Twitter. All Radio Unhinged. Be sure to follow those. Why?
Colorcast.
Oh, yes, that's right. And if you're on Colorcast, this is on Colorcast too, which we are doing the hot seat this week. Yes?
If you can handle the heat and you want to jump in the kitchen, come on down. The hot seat's open for it. If you got some quick fire, we're ready for it.
If it's
and
open,
even if we don't, we can. Anybody's listening, if you guys are listening on any one of the platforms, drop some questions in. We'll be able to answer those right before we close up too.
sounds like a plan. We'll keep that open just a little bit longer after we do these picks here. So, guys, we decided we're switching it up. We're going to post our picks for all the games on our social media. So if you want to know who did what in terms of the rest of the slated games that are not our big three that we're going to discuss, head on over to 4th and 4 on Twitter, and we'll be adding it, of course, to other socials as well. But Twitter in particular, you'll be seeing those go up, and we'll share those around for you too, and as well as records of the like. As of last week, well, Hector's looking pretty good after last week, is he not? We're
not going to talk about it. Look, that man is a football man, and you can just insert which football you want to. Insert name, insert football at this point in time. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. It's cheating somehow.
It's cheating.
He has figured out the way to access us. I mean, really, we look at that Texans pick he picked. Like, who thought that was actually going to happen? I did.
Yeah. I mean, again, ragtag
homer, and then it was like, all right, we got it, guys! Yay!
I mean, felt like the replacements were going out there and kicking ass against a team they should have lost. I thought should have lost to, but also, I mean, after some reports of Urban Meyer being a disgruntled hothead, maybe that is what we should have expected coming out of the gate. I don't know.
I will stand by my comment, though. I do still think that is the best performance we're going to see for Urban Meyer all season long.
It's gonna be a long year. Maybe another first pick in the draft if we're lucky. You never know. Get some more weapons for Trevor. Trevor's just gonna be like, I'll play the long game. We'll do it that way. The big three for this week, guys. We'll kick off first game of our action. We'll do as Titans and the Seahawks. Well, Seahawks and Titans. But here's the thing. Two completely different contests. As we mentioned with our discussing the NFC West, Seattle looks as good as ever. The Pete Carroll dynasty in Seattle in terms of consistent quality play, even though their offseason was very strange, still is there. It looks good. They looked very much a powerhouse in the NFC against Indianapolis. Tennessee, my God, speaking of NFC West, they got shellacked by Arizona last week, and it wasn't even close. Like even down only 11 points going into the third quarter, it wasn't even close. It was a complete annihilation. They looked outclassed. The glass cannon effect was real in this game. And now you get to play Seattle, who also in the NFC kind of feels like glass cannon, but defensively they showed up to play. This doesn't feel like last year's Seattle defense that sometimes, at least in the early going, was kind of like paper.
Yeah, I'd say that's accurate.
I don't know if you guys can see this, but based on my calendar here, it says it is September 19th. And if we've learned anything last year, it's that September Seahawks are absolutely ridiculous, and Russell Wilson cooks his best in September as well, too. So we'll reel back it just a little bit now. Russell Wilson cooking four touchdowns.
You know why he cooks best in September? It's because he can go outside and use an actual gas grill. He's not doing like some George Foreman cooking, trying to.
He doesn't have to worry about the smoke alarms going off as well, too. And this is when he's at his best. So I look for Russell Wilson to continue doing what he's doing, especially against the Titans defense, which is a Titans defense. I mean, we saw Kyler Murray, a guy that they compared to Russell Wilson a lot, absolutely destroy them last week. DeAndre Hopkins cooked them. Look for Tyler Lockett, the underrated receiver on the Seahawks team, by the way. DK Metcalf and everybody to absolutely continue rolling. It's probably a closer game. I think Derrick Henry is going to get going against that Seahawks defensive front. I think they overwhelmed the Colts offensive line last week. I don't think they'll be quite as dominant this week too. So look for it to be a little bit closer, but Russell Wilson, September, he's going to cook. Him and Patrick Mahomes are probably the best September quarterbacks we have ever seen in our lives. So I'm going to say the Seahawks are going to take this one. Russell Wilson's going to continue to do what he does. We saw Chris Carson and the running game actually be effective too. It wasn't just screw a DK and lock it down there somewhere. They actually, moved chains through short passes, through medium passes, played offense, not bombs away Madden 4 verticals. So look for the Seahawks to continue to roll a little bit earlier on as well, too, before they start facing those tougher division games.
Yeah, look, I think everything DJ just said is absolutely correct. I'll also add in there, we all know the real reason Russell can play the best in September. He doesn't have any snow to mess up his 1-2 step. I mean, he's fine this way. Like, him and Sierra get to do their 1-2 step and have a great time. Doesn't have to deal with any snow, but no, I still don't understand how Tyler Lockett is still underrated. I have preached 1,000 times over that he is still the best receiver on this team, and nobody can prove me otherwise because did anybody just see what he did last week? Does anybody see anytime when they're in a big situation, who does Russell look for? It's not DK. No. It's not anybody else. It is Tyler Lockett. Those two have a mental connection that is next level. And until DK can make that mental connection with the game itself first, and then with Russell, he will not be the number one receiver on this team. Period. He is a fantastic gadget guy. And yeah, I'm going to take heat for calling him a gadget guy. But DK right now is a gadget at this point in time in his career. He is not the number one receiver. He is not a threat to really burn you outside of just running straight. And I know all about him burning people by running straight, Trayvon Diggs. But look, yeah, Seattle keeps it up. Look, there's no defense to stop Seattle's offense. This will be one where you see DK, you do see Tyler Lockett just breaking open deep. It's not really going to be an issue because there is no defense to stop them. I mean, really, Russell can stand back there and just be like, nah, he's down there somewhere. We're good. His 60-yard arcing rainbow is going to fall in the lap of Tyler Lockett yet again. Like, there's no question about it. As much as I would love to say, Derrick Henry can take over this one. No, I'm sorry. There's too much Tyler Lockett, too much DK Metcalf, too much Russell Wilson rainbows.
Interesting. So we have Jim actually on the comments for Facebook, or sorry, for YouTube. He is saying King Henry in Tennessee will bounce back. Interesting. Because he's going to be on the island with this. I do not think so. Last week kind of exemplified, if I'm being honest, it exemplified my fears about Tennessee, which I'm fine with. And good job, by the way. Nice catch there, Kelsey, with pulling that up. But my fears in the offseason, I love the potential offensively for Tennessee was once you picked up Julio Jones, I thought it was going to be fully there. Again, it's week 1, so I can't fully say it's been tarnished, but it still is there for me, especially with Derrick Henry in your backfield. Now, defensively, Tennessee is still a train wreck. They didn't do much to address that side of the ball over the offseason. In fact, one could even argue they might have gotten slightly worse, which is really something to be strangely considering that, a Mike Vrabel-led team is worse on the defensive front. Think about that for a second, folks. That's a little weird. But, the glass cannon effect was going to be that you need to outsprint your opponents. And Arizona did everything right. They stopped Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill's capable, but if you cannot consistently land deep shots and if you're getting receivers dropping passes or, in quoting Mike Vrabel, doing dumb shit, then you're going to be having a bad day. And talking on Julio Jones, one has to wonder, will we see a bounce back effort here? Some talks, at least in my eyes, this could be a potential Andre Johnson situation if you are not careful enough. I'm just saying.
My God. That hurt me. I'm sorry. Have you seen Julio? And did you see Andre Johnson the way he looked when he left?
I know. I watched all those games too.
Looks like he still plays football. Like
I watched those games too.
Let's not put that man in damnation just yet.
But think about it. Early 30s. He's going to Tennessee. Had a bad week. Maybe
Andre Johnson looked like he was at a pub day in and day out, drinking beer and eating steak when he left.
Now, I mean, it's week 1 there, Zach. He had a bad day. You take one down, then you turn it around. I mean, let's not get too hasty now. I mean, it's still got plenty of time before you put him in that Andre Johnson category. Like, man, went right after him.
I understand.
There's going to be hot takes on this show, guys. I'm just throwing fire.
My computer's fogging up with all this steam coming off from that box. Jeez.
Like, I understand you're a Bears fan, but that was even like a little Bears fan for a Bears fan right there.
Hello?
That was like,
although if you end up being right, kudos to you because you beat us to the punch on this one. If you called that one ahead after week 1, kudos to you.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm going to put it in your mind space at least for a second. Keep it.
Every time he does something not perfect, it's like, oh, was Zach right? Then just have the meme of like 6 of my faces rolling in a circle. Does the gears start turning like, oh God, he was right?
Oh no. I've still got Seattle though. Overall, it's like DJ saying, it's September Russell Wilson. But also, like I said, against Indianapolis, they got after Carson Wentz and company. And I know that line is still dealing with maybe not fully healthy personnel on there, but it's still a competent offensive line for the most part. And I was just shocked to see what they were able to do against Wentz. I imagine that you might be able to do the same. If you can shut down the run, you're in a favorable spot again where you're basically daring Ryan Tannehill to be the game. So think about that for a second. That's your formula to run with. Give me Seattle here as well. That leaves Jim on the island for this one, and maybe he's
Hector.
And oh yeah, that's right, Hector. Which of course I gotta get and reference those picks because we can't forget about that. But I think that's something you got to watch out for. Pick matchup number 2 this week. We're going to be going to KC and Baltimore here. So on paper, this is another on paper one because the last few years it's been on paper. This looks like a fantastic game. And then, at least one of the last few matchups was a blowout. We did have some close ones that was more of a come from behind last gasp of air kind of contest in 2019 in the regular season. I don't know. Maybe we get some chances. There's more injuries this time around for Baltimore that I'm going, I don't know about this one. I think you might be able to just sprint ahead like you did on Monday Night Football last season and just kind of coast for Kansas City.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way too, considering Lamar and those Ravens have never beat the Patty-led Kansas City. That seems to be, honestly, if I'm not mistaken, like 20% of Lamar's losses as a starter for his team. Like it seems like that's the one team they just have struggled to get over the hump with. So, and now you have injuries on top of it, and a fully healthy Kansas City team that really found their stride in the second half against the Browns. It's not looking good for Baltimore. We say it that way. I won't give a full prediction on this one since Kelsey and I will be on the game on Colorcast tonight as well too. And we did leave a poll out there. We'll be taking a look at that later in the game too. Do you think this is must win for Baltimore? I think it's not a must win, but it's as close as you're going to get in week 2 as well too, just for the standard as we just mentioned. And plus going down 0-2 in that division, that's a big yikes to say the least, especially after we saw Cincinnati now seems to be a player in this division, at least early on. So it's not a must win, but it's as close as you're going to get in week 2.
Yeah. No, without giving away everything right here and the chicken dinner. But there's got to be something to be said. September, Patty Mahomes never loses. Lamar Jackson has never beat Patty. Okay, well, where we go now with this game in September where they're facing off yet again and all the injuries are in the Ravens. I mean, is it set up potentially to be a letdown game for the Chiefs? Yeah, sure. Is it going to be? I'm not going to answer that. You got to find out at Colorcast tonight at 8:20 p.m. when we call the game live. But you know what? It's going to be a fun game no matter what because we all know Patty is going to be exciting. We all know Lamar is a fun watch to be there for. And he's always good for explosive plays either with his arm or with his feet. You're guaranteed at least one from both of them. And so we just can't wait to call the action for it. But this is going to be a very competitive game, even though there are all these injuries with Baltimore.
What a pitch from you guys. Props to that. That's a good sell if I ever had to say something.
I practiced in my mirror. I know DJ did it too. So, we're good.
Yourself on that one.
You guys feel like big boys. It's nice.
Yeah. You ever saw the Hey Arnold commercial? You talking to me? Yeah, I was talking to myself.
Got to get juiced. I will not spoil your picks, but it does not look good for Baltimore in favor here. Jim, myself, and Hector all pick Kansas City. And really, much like I just touched on as we let in, Kansas City, I think, is going to do a similar thing it did last season where it's just going to sprint ahead. I'm not saying Baltimore's incapable. I'm just saying that Kansas City's its usual self and the extra added injury pressure that Baltimore's dealing with. I don't know. It's not something I would desire to have when you're going against a KC team like this one that is, I think, hungrier to get back to the Super Bowl and kind of try and wreak havoc again and maybe exact some sort of revenge for the shellacking they had on national television. So, yeah, I'm not really high up on here. And Lamar Jackson, maybe just keep, one of the keys, take care of the ball better because, Las Vegas kind of oof that yourself, my friend. put it close to your chest and hang on to that sucker, man. Come on.
Two hands.
Yeah, look, you let the Raiders win twice. That's all I got to say. The Raiders won one game twice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ball State alum Willie Snead tried to give it away. And, just one present. That was all you get.
That's like
one present. Have they learned nothing from the Seattle and New England Patriots matchup for the Super Bowl?
giving me nightmares on this. Why Willie Snead, of all people, is he in a clutch situation? I don't get it. Anyways,
We could rant on this for a long time. Let's get into this final game. Otherwise, we'll be here for another full hour or two just talking about why.
Let's talk about John Gruden's stupidity.
We need a documentary for that one. We need like the Gruden 6. We need to copy the Brady 6 on that one. But all right, so final game of the week.
Final game of the week is an AFC East matchup of sorts, one that we've been hinting at and been talking about even in the fantasy segment here. It's going to be here. We're going to have Buffalo visiting Miami. Now, Buffalo has had quite the week of maybe going, what happened to all the preseason hype? Josh Allen's gotten a few words thrown his way on looking like a older version of himself. And yeah, look at that. Ain't that something? If Jim's watching, we now understand what is going on.
But sorry, Jim, had to put you on blast there.
Kelsey getting the control a little for a second and throwing it up, but that's what's going down. Is you've got Buffalo. It looks like for us, we're going to be taking that. But I also would stress, Miami pulled out a tight win last week. Buffalo, are you worried about this? Or is this just a rebound and McDermott gets on people's
Dolphins pulled out a tight win. Let's say that Mac Jones gave him a tight loss with that fumble in the red zone late in the game from Harris as well too. I mean, Mac Jones, it was dink and dunk. It was check down central, but he did piece up that defense as well too in his first career start. They won that game. They should have until they fumbled late too. I mean, he scored, 17 points as well too. Buffalo's going to score a lot more than 17 points, even we saw what Josh Allen did in week 17 against this defense. Very similar defense as well, too. He put on a clinic. They're going to bounce back. I don't think they're going to roll Miami. I think it's going to be close. I think Miami's defense is going to contain them a little bit, but I don't think you can expect what we saw from the Bills offense last week. There's just too much firepower there. Maybe they actually run the ball like me and Kelsey have been clamoring all offseason, all of our prediction videos. Just hand the ball off to Matt Breida, hand it off to Devin Singletary. Zach Moss is supposed to play. Just turn around and hand it off. Your offensive line's solid. You'll be okay. It'll be fine. Josh Allen will be able to bomb it later in the game too. It's a long 60-minute game. You can run it a few times. So I think this one, I'm favoring the Bills to bounce back. I can't see them starting 0-2. I just really can't see it. And in the Dolphins, they're going to win their games ugly. Them in New England are going to win a lot of these 17-16 games. But if you score 24-28 on them, it gets a lot more difficult really quickly. And you mentioned no Will Fuller. That means Trey White's able to go on a Jalen Waddle or a Devontae Parker. You're able to roll the safety over the other one. Maybe even double team Mike Gesicki. Like, you have a lot more options now that you're missing that extra, oh my goodness, 4-3-1 speed vertical guys. So that makes life a little bit more difficult on Tua as well. So as we saw from the on blast picture, give me the Bills as well too. And I think this division's another one. Those top three teams with the Bills, the Patriots, and the Bills, Patriots, and the Dolphins, it's gonna be really tight as well too. So give me the Bills for this week.
And well, hold on, sorry, the wrong one. There's Jim's commentary about
put me on my island. Yeah.
He would like his own island. Unfortunately, that is a trash-filled landscape. So, Jim, you have to clean that one off yourself. Sorry, bud, we're not helping you out with that one.
He also put in a later comment too, and this is also just because of a typo that he says this for this. Screw both teams, but I hate Buffalo more than Miami. So also that's factoring in a little passion behind that.
He may be biased, and we're not going to say he's biased, but he's biased to biasness.
Maybe some bias.
There's a reason we say the 7 Shades of Brady for Jim.
We can't wait to get that back in the studio, can't we, guys?
No, not at all. Get well, Jim. We like to make fun of you, so we need you in person in studio.
We're looking forward to you to riffing on us too when we get back next week, or as soon as possible. Rest up, buddy. That's all we can say. Yeah. Folks, that's gonna do it here for 4th and 4. Kelsey, DJ, good show. I would say. Where can we find you guys? And again, what's the game on Kellercast? I know it's Kansas City and Chiefs, but give me the details again for those that maybe you're curious.
All right. So tonight, 8:20 p.m. Eastern time. That is when it kicks off. That's Sunday Night Football. We will be covering the Chiefs-Ravens on Colorcast. If you don't know what Colorcast is by now, you have an iPhone, you have an Apple device, you'll be able to download it. We do have the links shared on our Facebook, on our Twitter page, in our link tree. You can actually click on any one of the links we've tweeted that has a little Colorcast logo that includes from the 4th and 4 account. And all you do is you download it, and you go to a little box that says Chiefs-Ravens, and you'll see Casting Now, High-Low Sports with a little blue check mark. Once you're there, you click on it, and you're in there listening to DJ and I. You create an account. You can actually jump in the hot seat then once you create the account. All you got to do is request it, and it pops up on our screen and says, this person requested. And we'd be like, all right, we'll give you a minute. We'll give you 5 minutes. We can give you 10 or 20 if we really wanted to. Maybe you have some hot, spicy takes. But just be known, when you get in the hot seat with DJ and I, well, we give it back just as well as we can take it. So
you're welcome into the kitchen, but you better bring some oven mitts. Don't come in here unprepared.
Rules of journalism and broadcasting, if you ask me. There, got to be able to get both ways.
Absolutely,
exactly.
Got to be able to do it. Good stuff. We'll hopefully have as many people as we can tune into you guys, because I know you guys have been killing it on Colorcast as of late. So props, congrats to you as well for getting awesome viewership and just being great casters on there. And for this show, we'll be back next week, 10 a.m. Eastern time to roughly 11. I know we said 11, but hey, it's whatever. It's 11 something. That's all that matters.
We're loose and fast with the 1 hour show.
There you go. We'll give you what you need, is what we're going to say. All the love, and yes, 7 Shades will return this season. Good show. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Kamish. Appreciate that final comment as we're signing off. For Kelsey Coyne, for DJ Stewart, I am Zach Heimland saying so long for us here at 4th and 4. We will be back next week again, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Be sure to watch out on Unhinged Radio's Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter accounts for those live streams. Do not miss out. We're going to be even having a better show next week. I guarantee it. Yeah, that's I'm definitely doing the Men's Warehouse commercial. See you folks later. Have a good one.